everything! Welcome back to my channel. Today, we will be doing on writing and naming chemical formula for ionic compounds. At the end of today's lesson, you must be able to deduce the formula of any ionic compounds from the charges on the ions present and vice versa. First of all, you need to recall on what made the ionic compound. Ionic compound is made up of metal and non-metal. Recall, metal loses electrons to form positive ions, which you know as the cations. Non-metal gains electrons to form negative ions, which you also call as the anions. Remind yourself, ionic compound is always neutral, which means that they have zero charge altogether. Formula of an ionic compound. Formula of an ionic compound is made up of two parts. The first part is made up of the metal atom. The second part is made up of the non-metal. For example, you have sodium chloride as your common salt. The first part of the name is made up of sodium metal, whereas the second part should be made up of the non-metal atom, which is your chlorine. But once you put it into the name of the ionic compound, you will need to change from chlorine to chloride, which means that you must cancel out the I and E in the end and change it to IDE. These are the formula of ions that you need to know, especially the polyatomic ions. If you look at the one that are unbolded, so for example your sulfite, sulfate, carbonate, hydrogen phosphate, they are all what you call the polyatomic ions. Luckily, they all came up with this crossover method, so you don't need to think about anything else. So for example, you have aluminium sulfide. Aluminium sulfide has Al3+ and S2- ion. So what you need to do is, these two charges on the ions, you just bring it down, bring it to the other side. So now you will have Al2S3. This just simply means that you have 2 lots of Al3+ ions and 3 lots of S2- ions. Next, let's try for example 1, sodium chloride. This is probably the easiest. If you have Na+ ion and Cl- ion, what you need to do is just bring down the charges to form an ACl compound. So this is your sodium chloride. Next, what if you have a 2- charge on the anion, for example your sodium oxide? This is very easy. All you got to do is just bring down the 2. The charge will be gone because they will all cancel out. So just bring down the number. You will then form an A small 2 and an O. So this one is your sodium oxide. So far so good? Should be. Next, aluminium oxide. So this time, you have a 3+ charge on your cation and a 2- charge on your anion. Again, the charges will cancel out. Just bring down the numbers. Bring down the 3, bring down the 2. This will become Al2O3. So this one is the formula of your aluminium oxide. Next example. If I'm going too quickly, you may pause the video. Next example is when you have equal charge. For example, you have magnesium oxide, Mg2+, O2-. Because the numbers are equal, which means that the charges can be cancelled out completely. So this will become MgO. Same charges will cancel out completely. Right? So if you have sodium hydroxide, one of the ions is a polyatomic ion, OH minus. Every time you see a polyatomic ion, you need to see it as a whole. So what I usually do is I put in brackets. So any number that you are bringing in downwards, it has to go after the bracket. But this one is simple because sodium has only 1 plus charge, so you're only bringing in 1. So this becomes an AOH. It gets slightly complicated when you go to the next example, which is on ammonium sulfate, because in this example, you have 2 polyatomic ions, both on cation and the anion. So for ammonium sulfate, as I said, SO4 brackets 2 minus, NH4 bracket, then the charge. So when you are bringing down the number, it goes after the bracket. So this is NH4 2 SO4. That's your ammonium sulfate. Well then, I hope that's too easy for you. That's not a big deal. You may now proceed to the exercise inside your notes. If you have any question or whatsoever, please come and ask me. Thank you very much. Bye guys.